Jai Shri Radhe. Vaishnav ki Jai Shri Krishna. Jai Shri Radhe. Day 211. Varta 209. The story of Kishori Bai, a Brahmin lady from Gujarat to whom Sri Yamunaji daily granted her holy sight. Bhav Prakash. She was born into a Brahmin family in Gujarat. Her father was Sri Gosaiji's disciple. He had two daughters, the younger of whom was Kishori Bai, and their father had both the girls initiated as Sri Gosaiji's disciples. Her father was extremely fond of her, and he would read Yamunashtakam with her daily. He treated her with much affection. When she was 9 years old, he married her off to a Brahmin boy, but the boy died as soon as they were married. Kishori Bai remained innocent of all worldly matters. It was not long before her father also died. Her mother had died even before this. Her sister then looked after her. When she was 20 years old, she fell ill with smallpox. Part 1. Kishori Bai's body was racked with smallpox. Her hands and feet no longer functioned. She became deaf and lame. She could not speak. However, she had learnt the Sri Yamunashtakam from her father, and she was able to remember half of one verse. Every minute of every day she would repeat this, just one verse. She did not tell anyone that she was doing this. The verse she remembered was Vishuddha Maturatate Sakala Gopagopi Vrite Kripa Jalada Samshrite Mama Mana Sukham Bhavaya. On the most pure banks of Sri Mataji, you are surrounded by cowherd lads and lasses. You remain in the shelter of Sri Krishna, the ocean of grace. Now please make my heart ready to be joyous. She went on repeating this half of the fourth verse. Kishori Bai had one sister. She would come to feed Kishori Bai, but then she would leave again. Even that was done begrudgingly. But what to do? Kishori Bai just went on repeating this verse and meditating on Sri Yamuna Maharani in her heart. She spoke to no one. One day Sri Yamunaji put on some dishevelled clothes and went to the house of Kishori Bai's sister. She said, "You go to feed your sister Kishori Bai, but even that troubles you. From now on, I will cook for Kishori Bai." Kishori Bai's sister said to Sri Yamunaji, "Oh, thanks. I was thinking how nice it would be if someone else came to serve her so that I could be free from that duty. From now on, yes, please do serve her." From that very day onwards, Sri Yamunaji would cook for Kishori Bai with her own lotus hands. Bhav Prakash. This story demonstrates how Sri Yamunaji greatly graces those who only so much as chant a half verse of Sri Yamunashtakam every day. Here, Sri Yamunaji cooked for and fed Kishori Bai. It would be hard to describe how much good fortune will be had by those who lovingly chant the whole of Yamunashtakam every day. Vaishnavas should therefore constantly chant the Sri Yamunashtakam. Thereby they will come to understand Sri Yamunaji's Swarupa in their heart of hearts. They will become the most fortunate. Part 1 continued. Kishori Bai gained the realization of the meaning of that half verse in her intellect and of its inner meaning in her heart. She became very joyous through this process. Bhav Prakash. Through the grace of Sri Yamunaji, Kishori Bai realized fully the supreme greatness of the eternal Leela, whereby she became very happy and she was freed from worldly wranglings and devotional obstruction. Part 1 continued. Some time later, Sri Gosaiji passed through that village. All of the Vaishnavas who lived there went to see Sri Gosaiji. Sri Gosaiji had partaken of prasad, rested, and was then about to wake up. At that time, Sri Govardhanaji visited him in his dreams and said to him, "In this village there is one very pitiful, weak lady Vaishnava. Sri Yamunaji daily feeds her with Mahaprasad. You should go to visit her and grant her your sight. Then her life's purpose will be fulfilled." Bhav Prakash. In other words, Sri Yamunaji has blessed her. Now you should also go and bless her. Her life will be perfected. Why? Because an embodied soul needs the grace of the Guru, without which their life cannot reach perfection. This statement puts Sri Gosaiji's blessing above even that of Sri Yamunaji. Part 1 continued. Sri Gosaiji woke up thinking, she seems to be a divine soul. He decided to go to bless her and went to her house. His vision fell on her body, and at that moment she gained a perfectly pure body suitable for serving the Lord. Sevopayogi Deha. She regained her sight and her hearing. Sri Gosaiji then had the holy sight of Sri Yamunaji, fully adorned with 16 types of divine ornamentation, sitting next to Kishori Bai. Sri Gosaiji prostrated to Sri Yamunaji and she bowed back to him. Sri Gosaiji said, "Please do not bow to me. I have come here to honour you." He then asked her, Why do you trouble your lotus hands for Kishori Bai's sake?" Sri Yamunaji replied, "It is Sri Vallabhachariji's promise that whoever recite Sri Yamunashtakam, I will lovingly bathe them in my divine waters and thus remove all their body impurities. I increase their love towards Sri Mukunda, and that increases his love for that embodied soul. In this way I will make their form spiritually bright, and thus they are invisible to Yamaraj, the god of retribution. Then they enter the path of grace. When such a soul takes refuge in your lineage through initiation with the Lord's name and Brahmasambandh and recites the Sri Yamunashtakam, then they are able to experience the joy of the Lord's divine loving pastimes, or Ras Leela. Bhav Prakash. This shows that taking shelter in Sri Vallabhacharyaji's lineage is very exalted, and that without such dedication, entrance into the grace-filled pastimes of the Lord does not occur. It also states the words of Sri Acharyaji to be most superior. This tale shows that just through the recitation of his Sri Yamunashtakam, Sri Yamunaji grants the gift of all 8 of her divine faculties. Part 1. Sri Yamunaji continued. Kishori Bai thus repeats that half verse of Sri Yamunashtakam 24 hours a day, lovingly and discreetly. That is why I come here to feed her Mahaprasad with my own hands. She has been fully purified, and so you should now grant her some seva. Then Kishori Bai supplicated Sri Gosnaiji, O Maharaj, you have greatly graced a poor woman like me. Please now advise me as to what I should do. Sri Gosnaiji blessed her by giving her a small box containing divine sands from Brahmanreti and told her to offer seva to it. Sri Gosnaiji put this small box on a comfortable throne and served it with his own lotus hands. He also taught her all the ways of seva in the path of grace. She began to make seva, offering 7 paces worth of preparations every day, and then sharing the Mahaprasad with other Vaishnava devotees. One day, this is part 2. One day, Kishori Bai had the vision of Sri Navaneet Priyaji playing on his resting place. She felt great joy in her heart. She began to make seva to the Lord most lovingly. She used to work very hard, spinning cotton for a living. One day, another Vaishnava came to her and gave her some supplies for her to offer in her seva. She prepared them and offered them to her Sri Thakurji. That day, Sri Thakurji did not come there to partake of the offerings. Kishori Bai felt very upset. Sri Thakurji came to her and spoke. Why did you take stuff from someone else and offer it to me? How can I accept such things? Bhav Prakash. This tale tells us that one should not offer to one's Thakurji any supplies given by someone else. One should not even accept stuff from Vaishnavas to offer to him, for he will not accept such items. Part 3. Sri Thakurji and Sri Swaminiji came to Kishori Bai's house to play together. Kishori Bai had the holy sight of all their divine leelas. Once, Kishori Bai came to Nath Jirwar and had the holy sight of Sri Govardhan Nachi. She was very happy. Sri Govardhan Nachi saw Kishori Bai and smiled. She smiled back at him. The other people who had come there to have his holy sight also had the vision of his smile. Some Vaishnavas went to Sri Gosnaiji and told him, O Maharaj, Kishori Bai and Sri Govardhan Nachi were smiling at each other. Why is this? Sri Gosnaiji told them. This Kishori Bai is the recipient of great grace from Sri Govardhan Nachi and Sri Yamunaji. Kishori Bai can touch Sri Govardhan Nachi and he, her. Ramdas, the temple priest, also asked Sri Gosnaiji about Kishori Bai's devotion, and he answered, Kishori Bai is highly blessed by Sri Yamunaji, Sri Vallabhacharyaji and myself. Ramdas again inquired, who is she in the eternal Leela? Sri Gosnaiji told him she was a maidservant in Nandababa's house. She used to feed Sri Thakurji with lots of butter. One day she washed impure pots and pans in Sri Yamunaji, and this is why she has had to suffer such physical pain in this world. Bhav Prakash. The moral of this story is that Sri Yamunaji's form is totally divine. Sri Yamunaji's waters are actually divine nectar. If anyone regards her form as just worldly water and washes their clothes or dishes in her, or uses her waters to wash their mouth out, then they can expect such a bad resulting destiny. Vaishnava should never use Sri Yamunaji's water for any worldly purpose like cooking and other tasks. Her waters should only be used to fill Sri Thakurji's water pictures. In the eternal Leela, Kishori Bai was in the Kumarika group of gopis. Her name is Kishori, and she manifests from Kamodini and is thus a personification of her divine loving sentiment. We will pause the story today. Tomorrow would be part 3, continued, and then into part 4, etc. To Aaj ke Anand ki jai ho, Holi ke Rasiya ki jai ho, Vraj ke Anand ki jai ho. सब वैष्णवों को सादर सप्रेम सानंद और सदैन्य जय श्री कृष्ण जय श्री राधे।